We close out love-hate, of course, with the quarterbacks. And, Jay, who better to start with than Dak Prescott? We have been talking about this Eagles-Cowboys game a ton, and rightly so. And with that Eagles secondary, this is looking real good for Dak, who's had little problems this year against every secondary, it feels like.
He's been the best quarterback in the NFL for the past 2 months. I don't think there's any way around that. And this is, again, talk about pass funnels, run funnels. The Eagles are a pass funnel. Their run defense is solid. Their pass defense has been terrible. And now you get Dak, who's been rolling, and they are throwing the ball more. I don't think people have criticized Dak because he hasn't beaten a team that has a winning record right now. But I mean, he's done this. The Seattle defense is perfectly solid, and he absolutely lit them up. Seattle's got a better defense in the pass game than Philadelphia do right now. So I just think he's unstoppable right now, and he will get his fair share against the Eagles.
To your point, just to give some stats to what you were saying right there, Jay, 4 of the past 5 quarterbacks to face the Eagles have scored at least 28 fantasy points. They've allowed at least 300 passing yards in 4 of the past 5 games as well. So Dak Prescott, literally my #1 quarterback in fantasy this week.
All right, Justin Fields is next up against that Lions defense. Justin Fields comes in as QB6 for you, Barry. We know he can run on this Lions defense as well when he's not throwing to DJ Moore.
He's had at least 100 rushing yards. Think about how crazy a stat this is. The last three games dating back to last year, last 3 games he's played against Detroit, Justin Fields has a minimum of 100 rushing yards. At least 100 rushing yards in all 3 games for a quarterback against the same opponent. In the 2 games that he's had since he's returned from injury, he's had 30 rush attempts in the 2 games, and 73% of this is the most important thing. 73% of those 30 rushing attempts have been design runs. This isn't scrambling. This isn't the offensive line breaking down and Fields running for his life. This is now a big part of the offense. Over the last 4 weeks, only one team in the NFL gives up more fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks than your Detroit Lions. So Justin Fields, we talked about how bad that Lions defense is when we were talking up DJ Moore. Jay, this is a really nice matchup for Fields. Comes in at QB6 for me.
Yep, and he played them 2 games ago, and he went 18 for 104 on the ground. He's really efficient through the air. I don't know what on earth they were trying to do against Minnesota, just throwing screen passes every single play. Presumably they'll run real plays against Detroit because you can exploit that defense down the field.
All right, our next one here, Tua Tagovailoa. Miami has the highest implied team total this week, Jay, with Tyreek, Waddle, the whole offense. I mean, this is easy pickings for Tua against a Tennessee team that we heard Mike Vrabel yesterday. We played some sound. He's just going through it this year.
Yeah, it's been a tough year for the Titans. This is a dream matchup for the Dolphins in primetime Monday Night Football. And again, this is a Tennessee defense that's really solid against the run and atrocious against the pass. We saw what Gardner Minshew, of all people, did to them last week. I think Tua and Tyreek should go off on Monday Night Football.
All right, how about a couple others receiving votes here? The resurgent Jordan Love. He has been phenomenal for about a month now. He's got the Giants. I think the only worry there, guys, is if the Giants can't get anything going, is Green Bay going to be in run mode the second half? But very confident in Jordan Love. Joshua Dobbs, Dobby against the Raiders. He comes in as a top 15 play here, Barry. Then right outside the top 15, Jake Browning against the Colts if you're in a desperation streaming spot at QB 16.
Yeah, 100% on Browning. Like, again, this is just, hey, if you're desperate. He's QB 16. We're not going crazy here, but he should be okay against the Colts. Like, in Week 13, he had the 4th highest QBR. Like, anytime you can get the ball to Jamar Chase and let him do stuff, when you throw a bubble screen to Jamar Chase and he runs 50 yards, that counts for Jake Browning. Also a little bit more mobile than I think he gets credit for. Josh Dobbs, over the past 4 weeks, Raiders allow almost 300 passing yards per game, 3rd most in the NFL. And over the last weeks, Jordan Love has been the 5th best quarterback in fantasy football since Week 10. Giants 2nd worst in the NFL in pressure rate. Love should have a clean pocket to deal from.
For the hate list, headlined by C.J. Stroud, still comes in as a top 15 quarterback, but 2 really bad breaks here, Jay, for Stroud. He loses Tank Dell last weekend, and then what does he get the next weekend? The New York Jets secondary.
Yeah, and this is the sneaky thing with Stroud. Look, I think Stroud is incredible. I think he's already a top 10 quarterback real life in the NFL right now, but he doesn't really have to play that many great defenses. The only time it really happened was against Baltimore in Week 1. And, I mean, it's the first game of his career, so what? But he didn't play well in that. He really struggled against the Saints. He's lit up bad defenses like the Bengals, the Cardinals, these types of teams. And so I think there's weather forecast for Sunday in East Rutherford going up against a Jets defense that is arguably the best in football. I think he's going to be in a bit of trouble here. And the thing with Stroud, too, he's taken 9 sacks his past 2 games, and that's against Denver and Jacksonville pass rushers that are not great. So I think Stroud's going to be in some trouble on Sunday.
Yeah, I have at QB 12 this week, but that's the lowest I've had Stroud in quite some time. Jets have allowed multiple touchdown passes only once in their last 7 games.
insane.
I mean, right, and they've played Tua. I mean, like,
Right.
it's not like it's
Seen
just,
Josh Allen twice.
Right,
Seen Jalen Hurts. Seen Pat Mahomes.
I mean, thank you. Exactly. Only 3 quarterbacks have thrown for even 250 yards against the Jets this season. And so in games in which Tank Dell has missed or played less than 50% of the snaps, C.J. Stroud is averaging just 13.8 fantasy points per game. So in his first game without Tank Dell against the Jets, you have to lower expectations here for C.J. Stroud.
Finally, our last one, Baker Mayfield just makes the top 20 quarterbacks, QB 19 for a Tampa Bay team that at times they can get a little fixated on the run here, Matthew.
Yeah, and Baker Mayfield has actually been good for fantasy, even though it's been an up and down season for Tampa. Baker Mayfield's been usable for fantasy, but I don't know that this is a week you want to use him. He's had 30 or fewer pass attempts in 4 of the past 5 games. The implied team total for the Bucs is just 18 in this one as well. And when Tampa Bay scores fewer than 20 points, again, their implied team total is 18. When the Buccaneers score fewer than 20 points, Baker Mayfield averages just 13 fantasy points per game. So just probably not the week you want Baker.
Yeah, and also, like, he hasn't thrown for 300 yards since week 2, and this team has been trailing a lot. So it's just not a high-octane offense.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.